Hello once again, YouTube. It's me once again, Carson Jacobson here with My Pocket Constitution. You know what that means. It's another Constitution Explained segment. Today we're going over Article 2, which discusses the President of the United States and the executive branch of government. Again, just going to be going section by section, given whatever detail I consider to be summative. I've got questions, post them in comments. I can answer them either as a reply or in a future video. We'll see. I'm just going to get right to it, though. I've wasted 30 seconds of your time already. Alright, so Section 1 is kind of a long section. It says that all executive power is put into the President of the U.S., and that his term is 4 years, and he works with the Vice President, who is also on the same term. It also sets apart the Electoral College, where each state gets some number of electors that ends up being equal to the number of senators and representatives combined. And then Washington, D.C. gets some as well. So the number comes out to like, I think it's 436. But nobody who's holding an office under the U.S. can be an elector. There's that rule. Anyway, so that's the Electoral College. I'll explain that, how that whole process works in a different video, because it's big. Then it talks about how the electors vote. They meet in their states, vote by ballot for 2. One of them has to be someone who doesn't live in their state. And then the President of the Senate, in the President's, of the Senate and the House of Representatives, at one of their meetings, wherever, they count up all the votes. And then if one person gets a majority, they have to have that magic majority, 51%, sorry, then they become President of the United States. If 2 people have the same number of votes, then the House of Representatives votes for one of them, and whoever wins that vote becomes president. If nobody has a majority, which can happen if the vote is split too small between everybody who ran, then the top 5 make it through, and the House of Representatives votes for one of them. And it talks about the Vice President votes as well. There's also the rule Congress chooses what day election day is, and every state has to have their elections on the same day. That's in Article 2 here. Then it also talks about qualifications to run for president. You have to be a natural-born citizen, which means born on U.S. soil. You have to be at least 35 years old, and you have to have lived in the U.S. for 14 years. Pretty simple. Then it talks about if the president is unable to fulfill his duties, or he dies or resigns, then the vice president becomes the president. And then if he dies or resigns or can't do the job as president, then some other officer fulfills the role. And then that's actually changed by the 12th Amendment. That's why I'm not being real clear on this, because it's completely different now. It's irrelevant. The president gets paid, and then that salary amount can't change over the course of his presidency, and he can't receive during his term any other emolument from the U.S. or any states thereof. And then there's the Oath of Affirmation set apart. One thing I always found really interesting is the Oath of Affirmation does not say, "So help me God" at the end in the Constitution. Nor does it require that you have a hand on the Bible. But every president has done this because George Washington did it first. George Washington was a very religious man. That's why in Article 1 there's the except for Sundays rule. It's because him and Martha were religious, they went to church. On Sundays, they didn't do work. So that's one thing I always found very interesting, is the power of tradition. It's almost made its way into law, but it's not. Section 2 talks about a couple other things that the president has power of. He's commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the U.S. and the militia. And so he has the military powers. He also has the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the U.S. except for impeachments. So a reprieve means, let's say you've been sentenced to jail for 10 years, you can say, no, you can get out in 5. We'll cut your sentence down to 5 years, you're fine. He can do that. He can also pardon you, saying, no, this guy's innocent, kick him out, he's good. He can do that except for in cases of impeachment. If you're a governor and you get impeached, he cannot undo that. He also has the power to make treaties, but then they have to be ratified by the Senate by a 2/3 majority. And then he also appoints ambassadors, public ministers, and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all of the officers of the U.S. whose appointments are not otherwise provided for. But then, again, most of those have to be ratified by the Senate. And then, if vacancies happen during the recess of the Senate, he can fill those vacancies. And then there's also the State of the Union in Section 3. It says he shall, from time to time, I love how clear that is, he has to give information of the State of the Union, so the State of the Union address. And then he can also recommend to their consideration anything he thinks they need to do. And he can occasionally adjourn the houses. He receives ambassadors. He talks with other nations, foreign policy. And then Section 4 says, here's what the president, the vice president, and any other executive officers can be impeached for. They have to be impeached for and convicted of treason or bribery or some other high crime or misdemeanor. Any of these 3 things can get a president kicked out of office. There have only been 3 presidents successfully impeached. There was Andrew Johnson, back right after Abraham Lincoln, because they didn't like how he was blocking all the bills. There was Bill Clinton for lying under oath, perjury. And then there was Donald Trump. He's the most recent. We all know about that one. And so how that works, I'm just going to explain that because I got a couple minutes. House of Representatives talks about the impeachment side of things. And then it's their vote that will impeach a president. What does that mean? It means they're impeached. Really, that just sends them up to trial at the Senate. The Senate's job is to say, okay, great, they're impeached. Is this really a big enough crime to kick them out of office? And no president has ever been kicked out of office over impeachment. That's never happened. I don't know how long it'll take before it happens. It'll definitely be a stressful time. Unless you're into laughing at the media. That's fun. Anyway, so that's Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States. It sets forth the executive powers of the government and the President of the United States. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you at least found it educational, even if you didn't enjoy it. I don't always just talk about government or the Constitution or history. In fact, that's kind of the minority of my videos. Over here you can see these are my musical equipment stuff. I often make music videos. That sounded wrong. Music tutorials. I teach music a little bit. I've mainly done percussion, and I have a piano video that's useless. You should watch it though. I'm considering doing a saxophone video because I just got a new saxophone and I'm learning pretty well. I might do a video on how bad I am at trombone or how bad I am at my trumpet here. I also have some foam swords over there I got a video on those. You should watch that. It's really cool. But here's the thing. I post videos, but they're hard to find. I'm kind of a small-time YouTuber. I don't have these millions of views that get me first up on your recommended feed. If you subscribe to my channel, you can find my videos. Also, leave a like. Makes me feel good. Unless I don't deserve a like, then comment as to why. I love reading comments. I've replied to almost every single comment I've ever received. I'll reply to yours. Yeah. Share this video with your friends or your government teacher or something. I love getting feedback. Just let me know. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you. Have a good day.